What was that? Where's Stephanie? Stephanie!
I'm Eric Baker, and I've lived in Tennessee my entire life. However, for the last decade, touring the world, I've only seen it passing by from a windshield. But finally, Tennessee is calling me back where I belong. There's a place you've never been. It's right where you want to be. I want to rediscover how great my home state is, and I want you to come with me. Uncharted. On this episode of Tennessee Uncharted, I've made my way to the state's Copper Basin. Situated along the North Carolina and Georgia borders, this area originally built up around a thriving ore and mineral industry.
Mining began in the basin in 1850. Copper was actually discovered in 1843 by a prospector who was looking for gold. He found copper, so he moved on down the road, but other people came along behind interested in the copper find. And by the middle of the 1850s, you had over 1,000 people working in an area that prior to that had no communities. When I'm talking with folks about the basin and about the operations here, I try to remind them that places like the basin, the people that worked here, these are the places that built this country. The materials that came from these mines and were produced in the operations here are what built this nation. To me, there's almost sort of a romantic nature to mining. To me, it's right there with railroads and cowboys. You know, there's just something about a man going underground and putting his life at risk for an occupation and to help build this nation.
Today, however, the economy of this historic region is carried on the back of one of the country's greatest natural resources, the Ocoee River. Controlled by the TVA via 3 dams, the Ocoee runs most weekends, May through October, welcoming more than 250,000 visitors annually. Known for hosting the Whitewater slalom events during the centennial 1996 Summer Olympics, the Ocoee River provides some of the country's premier whitewater. Some days, we have to work very hard to try and control the direction of our lives. In an attempt to find the right channels, many days we're forced to sink our paddles in deep to push against the prevailing currents of life. But thankfully, today is not one of those days.
My name is Jared. I'm going to be the church leader today. We also have Jeremy Frazier going along with us, and we have Alex Weiners going along with us.
Yeah!
Really, we're just going to talk about the gear that we've been wearing, and then we'll get on out of here.
It's not one of those days when we can't see where we're headed. Yeah! Or one of those days when we're damaged.
So is this how people get hurt?
When we can barely stay afloat.
Hopefully, won't have to put this thing to use.
Nope, today is one of those days when we get to go with the flow. Because today, we get to go whitewater rafting on the Ocoee River.
See, what am I signing here, though?
Sign your life away.
Exactly.
Do end up in the water, okay? If anybody ends up in the water, first thing we want you to do is we want you to get back to the boat as fast as possible, okay? If you end up in the water and we say, hey, we're gonna pick you up in a minute, just float. What we want you to do is you don't want to touch the ground, like you saw the video. You don't want to put your feet underneath the rocks or anything. So what we call the whitewater swimmer's position. You put what we call your toes and your nose into the air, okay? Everything's on top of the water.
Did you get an ab workout there?
You do get an ab workout with it. You definitely do.
What happens if you fall out of the boat?
You listen to my commands from the water.
Okay, all right.
It's probably going to be something like all back.
Okay.
You know, come get me.
Okay.
Are you feeling good?
I am. I feel great.
I may be really good at playing air guitar, but I've never actually been whitewater rafting. I feel that every great near-death experience is better when you can share it with someone. So as guests, I've brought my longtime friend and bandmate, Will Carter, and his girlfriend, Erin. Will is a fellow musician, but more importantly, a very experienced paddler. Hopefully either his whitewater knowledge or his beard can keep me afloat today. If not, we're thankfully in the hands of our master guides, who collectively have over 25 years of experience on the Ocoee.
So on the Upper Ocoee, we're one of the only companies that brings a kayak guide with us. And he's there to be our support, our swim coach, get to you guys. It's his job to be there for us, So if he ends up getting worked in a hole and having to swim out of his kayak where he can't support us and be there for us, he then in turn gets a mohawk. So it is his job to not to want to get a mohawk because he's got to be here to support us.
Boy, and Alex has got a ton of hair.
He's got a
too.
ton of hair, yeah. Maybe we can make him shave the beard off
That'd make a beautiful mohawk, though.
All right, let's try a spin. Give me a left backwards, right forward.
As we watch the gentle flow start to turn like the volume knob of a stereo in the roaring Whitewater Rapids, I realize there's only so much that hope can do in guiding our path. Now that we've left the shore, the rest is in our hands and our air guitars. How often can we say that we've traveled the same path as Olympians? It's been almost 20 years since the 1996 Summer Olympics left its mark on the Ocoee, making it the river it is today. However, the legacy it left behind is far more than just rocks and riverbed.
Man, the water, this section looks completely different than it did
It's
when we
fishing.
came down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, really, I just want to know your stories and your connection to this river that people are coming from all over the world to enjoy.
I grew up an hour from here.
Okay.
So I was a local kid.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
it's kind of neat because I've paddled this section a lot before they did the Olympic course. And interestingly enough, we thought that this was some of the least interesting part of the whole river. And so they enhanced it. And some of the best stuff is just right up here. Unfortunately, logistically, they couldn't get people in and out of there efficiently and set up stands and all the stuff they needed for a big Olympic venue.
now I want to know what it looked like when the Olympics were here, when all these people were here, because right now there's just a few people swimming and walking the rocks. What was it like?
Well, it was pretty neat because on this side, all the athletes were on this side of the river, and then basically the public was on that side. So most of the people were on that side, and that's where the buses could come in and out and drop people off.
It was beautiful. I mean, between the colors of the Olympic Games that Atlanta put on, it was a beautiful, cool kind of color palette that they were using. And you had all these beautiful white tents and all the banners and all the international sounds, noises, the water, the colors, and then people everywhere. It was really beautiful. It's always nice to have an American flag around should something happen. And sure enough, Donna Klodek, silver medalist, and I haven't brought this out since our Olympic Games. That has not seen anyone
Thank
seen
you
it.
so much. Let's check
but
this out.
when we did our trip to the White House, I took this with us, and not only did I make sure that Donna Klodek had a premier place to sign on it, but I got all of the signatures of all athletes from all teams here.
This has everyone.
On this, pretty much everyone, and it also has Chelsea Clinton, President Bill Clinton, and Hillary
you got
Clinton.
Chelsea to sign it. I didn't get Chelsea to sign mine.
Yeah, see? But here it is. And,
That's amazing.
I also brought a photo of these guys here.
That's
Isn't that
awesome.
pretty? Isn't that
That
great?
is.
And I
That's
look back
amazing.
on that and I go, wow, wow, don't you?
Yep.
Just go, really? Did we really do that? Did
Yeah.
we really get to do this?
Well, I mean, for a world-renowned river, having an international world sport here only makes, it's fitting.
Yeah.
They go together really well.
Whitewater may be defined as fast, shallow stretches of water in a river, but today I've learned that the whitewater of the Ocoee River runs much deeper. We caught up with Charles of the NOC to find out just how far the ripples of this river reach.
The Ocoee River is the most popular whitewater rafting river in the world. 250,000 people do it on a good year. It's beautiful, it's got warm water. The action of the river is really ideal for what most consumers want out of a rafting experience. It's really wet. In other words, you get a lot of big splashes. The action is continuous. Really, it is kind of the quintessential whitewater rafting trip. You know, if I was gonna introduce somebody to rafting, it's the river I would choose. It's also a really powerful economic engine. Visitor spending accounts for $43 million in economic impact in the tri-state region. It's big for the outdoor industry too, because it gets a lot of people fired up about the outdoors and gets them into the outdoor lifestyle. You know, rafting the Ocoee is a good gateway experience into a life of kayaking or hiking. You know, when you're on the water, you don't have your phone, nothing else matters. That's one of the nice things about outdoor experiences is they can be completely engaging and get you performing at your peak performance. They can get all the distractions out of your mind. And so when you have a really good day on the water, you come out with that afterglow and you feel really good about it.
After a full day of seeing our whitewater guides do what they do best, it only seemed fitting that Will and I wrap up our day doing what we do best, and that's playing a little bit of music. Behind us, you can see that the crew's getting us settled in for the night, which here in bear country means not only taking precautions to keep you safe, but also the backpackers and the boaters that follow you. We caught up with Daryl Radijak, who is the Chief of Wildlife and Forestry for the TWRA, to find out more about staying safe in bear country.
Crossville to 3201.
3201, go ahead.
3201, be advised we have a report of a possible bear attack at the campsite next to the Toco access area off Highway 360.
10-4. Also advise 3230 and 3231, have them en route.
So sorry, this is all my fault.
State wildlife officers.
We're here.
What happened?
Bear attack.
Which way you go? Which way you go?
It went that way, went that way.
How are you?
Don't worry about me.
Ma'am, how are you hurt?
I'm so sorry.
Okay. We've got EMS on the way. Brandon, you see anything?
Nothing over here.
Can you stand up? We've got an ambulance up here. Okay, let's walk back up here. You okay? Okay. We'll calm down and we'll talk about it. We're gonna get away from this area.
It was our fault.
The outdoors can be a dangerous place. Whether we're in whitewater or wilderness, being safe is the best way to protect ourselves and those who follow behind us. However, in the wild, some things are beyond our control, and that's why we're here today to learn about bear attack response training with the TWRA. This training is one of the many examples of the lengths these officers go to, making sure that they're prepared and we're protected. TWRA officers attending learn how to treat a bear attack as a crime scene. They analyze every clue to determine who may be at fault. From hiring actors to inviting local media, they strive to keep the training as real to life as possible, so when the time comes, they're ready for anything.
Guys, we have an apparent trail going out this way.
This training that you saw today, and I hope you had a lot of fun. It's fun putting these things on, but it's a real serious business. It initiated about a year or so ago. It's all the southeastern states saw a need to train our wildlife officers, our biologists on how to properly respond to a bear-human incident. I'm proud to say Tennessee stepped to the plate. We were the ones that said, hey, we got Gatlinburg, we got the Smokies, we're a bear destination in the southeast. Mm-hmm. But it was literally to train the proper people how to respond to what could be a horrific event.
To boil it down to one simple thing, why is this bear attack response training important?
Because lives are oftentimes at stake. The good thing with a bear attack is they're extremely rare. But when they do happen, it's pretty tragic. And we really have to prepare our personnel on how to respond, not just to the victims, but to the families. With the advent of cell phones and the public just walking by, you got to control the media, because people start taking pictures and texting people, and there can be a hysteria. It's something that if you mention the term bear attack, the ears perk up. We're just doing our best to keep up with the times and what the folks will deal with in the real world. We prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
All right, Daryl, show me what we're looking at here.
Well, you see the whole area in general. Perfect place to go camping, nice open field, you got trees, beautiful water
it's
setting.
beautiful, beautiful.
And then you see the campsite. You can see they left the food out overnight, they had dirty plates. They even had a plastic bin, which is no obstacle for a bear, and they kept some food items in there. And so this was the reason that attack occurred. It wasn't the bear's fault, he just thought he was gonna get a quick meal.
What do you do to get rid of them?
Obviously, there's going to be some leftover materials that's going to be aromatic. And just like hanging a pack, you want to get it out of your campsite far enough distance away that if a bear comes in, he'll go to that place, but he'll have no reason to come into your campsite where the people are.
There's also issues, though, not only with things that you bring in, it's natural issues, right? With berry bushes.
That's a really good point. You got cherry trees here and here, absolutely full bloom. That's the bear's natural food. You don't want to set it up in a blackberry patch, not only because of the chiggers, but because bears love blackberries.
It's their cafeteria, basically, that you're sitting at my table.
So just be mindful of where you're setting up your campsite, because the last thing you want to do is just have you and a bear in this exact same location. And it's very easy to avoid if you just use your head.
While today was pretty intense, luckily it was only a dramatization. Tomorrow, we head back to the rapids and reality of the Middle Ocoee. It's our second day here at the Ocoee, and before we get back out on the water, I'm looking forward to some peace and quiet, resting my weary bones at the Ocoee Outdoor Retreat Center. At least that's what I thought. While the Upper Ocoee is known for its technical aspects, the Middle contains around 20 Class 3 rapids. With names like Hell's Hole, Slice and Dice, and Broken Nose, it's no wonder they call it the Ocoee Coaster. I guess there's no rest for the weary. Get crazy. After 2 days, I've gotten a real feel for rafting the Ocoee. But that entire time, I've had my friends by my side helping me down the river. Now, I think it's time for me to push myself and get a more personal perspective. As you guys know, I'm no Olympian. In fact, this is the first time I've ever been in a kayak in Whitewater. But I'm in good hands, because at Ace Kayaking School, they take paddlers from Whitewater novice to natural in under a day.
know what the first rule of kayaking is?
What's that?
Look good.
Well, I got that down already, so.
It'll fall down, it'll work. Second one.
Okay.
Have fun.
All right, I can do
Third
that.
one, be safe. Safety third.
Safety,
Sums it all up.
Safety third, all right. Sounds like my kind of school.
Yep. It's a right-hand control paddle.
Okay.
So right knuckles, right edge. That stays really tight. That's like your throttle on a motorcycle. That wrist just moves, and you can loosen the other hand and pivot. So when you take a stroke on this side, you have a really good purchase on the blade. But every time you reach over to the left, you've got to make sure that you get that paddle kind of twisted back. We don't have to worry about too much today. Today, you are power. You're making this thing go fast.
All right.
I steer, you make it go fast.
Sweet, the power.
Perfect.
I like that.
At any point in time today, you make sure that that is outside of the skirt.
Okay.
Do not tuck it inside of your skirt.
Okay.
That is your emergency pull cord.
Okay.
And that is your last resort right there.
Okay.
Make sure that's out. We'll practice that first just to make sure it's all going good. I
Okay.
want to make sure you know how to get out of there.
Yep, now you're awake.
Yeah, all right, let's do this.
Ready to go.
So, your flip today, your game plan is to throw your paddle, get rid of it, chunk it. Just chunk it in the air. Perfect. All right, and then I want you to tuck up far forward as you can, grab the bottom of the boat, and hold yourself super tight, okay?
Okay.
All right, we're gonna do a few practice rounds, all right? Hit.
Oh, shit, what am I
Feeling good?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I think you're ready, man.
As we head out on our trip, I'm beginning to realize that this could be one of my only chances to kayak a river of this proportion.
We're gonna drive river left.
Okay.
And we'll eddy hop our way down. We'll talk about each thing.
All right.
We're ready to go. Sound good?
Sounds great, dude.
Awesome.
See you down the river, baby!
Alright, so it's coming. Biggest one of the day. Table saw. We'll stay kind of tight. If anyone swims, you swim to the left. Everything feeds to these ladies on the left anyway. Okay. Sound good?
Yep.
Sounds
That's
good.
only if we swim.
Only to swim. Yeah, if not, just hang on tight. You're still kayaking. We're gonna punch the meat. As long as y'all take it to the right, that'll give y'all a good angle too.
Punch that meat, baby, punch it.
Alright, that's it.
All right.
I see that fun pile?
Yep.
We're gonna T-bone it. You take a right stroke when we hit it. Alright, big right stroke when we hit it. Right stroke.
Oh, yeah! Yeah!
In looking back, I think that one of the most important things I learn on the water is to keep paddling. So often when things are the worst, when the waves are the biggest and the strongest, we freeze. But the truth is, these are the moments that we must keep paddling to power through.
Super good job.
Gosh, that was so much fun. So much fun. Totally different experience than rafting. This is an area that historically doesn't have much, but somehow has everything it needs. Joe Gudger summed it up best when he said, "I decided a long time ago to be okay with not having much. as long as I could be out on the water every day. So many roads to travel. I'm gonna run down every mile. The power of the Ocoee is much more than the thrill and adventure of the rapids, the scenic views and rich history. It's spiritual. It's the power of contentment, passion, romance. It's magnetic, and it's not hard to see why people are being drawn here. I don't know if it was the poor cell reception or the hard-to-find Wi-Fi, but something here made me feel more connected, unplugged from distraction. Maybe it's the freedom of going with the flow. Whatever it is, the Copper Basin, once considered dead by many, is now making people from all over the world feel very alive. So go find yourself